Now that Princess Avalon has joined the ranks of young adulthood, there are many across the queendom eager to watch her progress as royal heiress. The people of Dragon Valley have great pride in the daughter of their beloved queen. They have seen her growing into a fine young lady with a kind heart and capable mind. And now she is of age to undertake her proving and secure her place on the Verdington throne. Athletics are her strong suit, so she's putting her best foot forward by training where she can, even in cold and deep snow. The queen is pleased with her daughter's attitude regarding her succession. She understands how important it all is. Of course, Lady Morida's own work has become all the more essential as a result. Her enlightenment potions are in high demand, or will be. Magical aid has a precedent in the royal trial, and the sorceress has been stocking ingredients for this very occasion. There's also another reason why she's eager to get started on her alchemical creations. Lilac O'Righton has officially been announced as her apprentice. She must now pass on knowledge of her arts to the young one. It is a responsibility she cherishes and a heavy burden to bear for one's future role in the Fae Court. Hello everyone, this is Fantasy-esque and welcome back to the Sims 3 Fairy Amazon Royal Saga with the Verdington Fae Court. Now, if I sound a little bit exhausted right now and at my wit's end, it is because I recorded this entire episode with my mic plugged in, of course, but alas, with no sound. As in, the mic didn't pick anything up, and I don't know why the heck that is. And so, I thought at the end of my tiring day trying to get this together, let's just re-record. But of course, I cannot do that because the things which occurred in this episode were important to the progression of the story. Now, the footage is just fine, so I am having to do a voiceover, something which pains me immensely because I forget half the things I talk about, and also it just, I don't know, it feels more natural when you're talking while you're playing in the moment, and you know exactly where you're going and exactly what's happening, and now I have to second guess my own actions because I don't remember what I clicked on when. Anyways, I'm pretty sure our quest for this episode was to get on with the flippant proving of the princess. So as you saw in the beginning, she was out trying to train her athletic skill because that is kind of her forte, at least for now. And then Lady Morida is doing her part to make her enlightenment potions and feed them to the princess so that she can continue to do excellent in her proving. And I think at this point I was trying to focus in on Snow's skills. I was trying to remember which skills she went ahead and mastered during her own proving. I don't know which 3 exactly because she only required 3, but the queen, she has photography maxed out as well as handiness, the base, and there was one more that I don't remember. It's completely gone over my head, and this is why I struggle with voiceovers. But anyways, I think I was saying that with the these Sims who do, mastering 3 skills as their method of proving, I don't feel as though those skills are forgotten necessarily. In my eyes, they kind of aid the queens once they take the throne in various ways. Like with Queen Snow, I like to think that her base mastery of the base allows her to work well with the minister in hosting, balls and parties and entertaining her guests and making sure everyone is able to enjoy themselves. So that's kind of one way that you'd make a connection between a skill that she learned and is coming in useful or has come in useful to her as queen, even though we might not talk about it outwardly so. And then her photography skill, you could say that works well for her image, so she's always careful about the type of image she's projecting to the rest of Dragon Valley. I mean, members of the court know that Queen Snow, is mad, and so they're very careful around her, but that gossip never gets outside the palace, and even if bits and pieces do, they get squashed very quickly because the common people of Dragon Valley look at Queen Snow and they think, well, that's ridiculous. The queen would never kind of be like that because she's very particular about the kind of image that is put forth of her. And she's a master in building an image that the people can follow, proudly so. And then what? Handiness. I guess handiness has made her quite independent and practical. Like, she's resourceful and able to take care of herself without too much outside help. So there's that. There was one other skill, and I have no clue. You guys might have seen it while I was scrolling through the skill set, but I was not looking when I was talking, and now I can't remember what it was. But there we go. I think, was it athletic? I don't know. It might have been athletic, or it might not have been. Maybe I should just stop guessing altogether. That's fine. But on to Lady Morida. Now, it seems as though she is enjoying herself quite so, but she's been flat out trying to make potions for the princess, of course. She's been trying her best to get that done. And then also, the queen has announced that Lilac O'Righton is officially her apprentice, so I think Morida is taking it quite seriously, trying to train, I keep wanting to call it Lumia, but wanting to train Lilac up so that she is prepared. And I feel as though Lady Morida, as a family member, I feel like sometimes you take your families for granted. You might not appreciate, like, the simple things you have, or the closeness, the time. And I think with Morida, she always just assumed that Lumia would learn as she got older. Lumia would watch her, and, she'd just get the sense of things. So I don't think she spent too much one-on-one time actually teaching her things properly. She always assumed there would be plenty of time, but obviously that's... I was just looking at a cute little squirrel covered in snow. But yeah, I don't think that's something that she spent too much time on before. But it's different now with Lilac. Now that she has this experience of losing a daughter, I think the sorceress realizes that the time she has with a student is precious. And the fact that she has a successor is a very precious thing, because Saffron still doesn't. Saffron was never able to have a daughter, and Saffron never got an apprentice. I mean, Lilac, would have been in line to be Saffron's apprentice before Lumia died. But I think in the end, the queen kind of decided, or her logic would have been, that Saffron's never had a successor, so it wouldn't be that big of a deal if she missed out on one, whereas Morida had a daughter and, she was training up a successor, So if she doesn't have one now, it is going to be a big hit to her. And I think I just realized here that I forgot to put the chairs back into the throne room after the birthday party we had for Princess Avalon. So it's probably a wise idea to move them back in. So I just decided to do that on camera. Because why the flip not? So they're getting moved back in. I'll probably have to readjust them because I placed, like, they're not even one of the chairs. The middle right chair is too close to the center. It's not symmetrical. Don't worry, I'll realize it in a second and I'll move things back to where they need to be. So there we go. That is kind of what's going on with Morida and with Lilac. Also, at some stage, I'm pretty sure I make the Oriton quarters open to Lilac because she didn't have access to that before. I don't even know where she was sleeping. Like, I'm not sure where she was sleeping. She only aged up in the last episode, so it's not as though she had a whole lot of time. But now she shares a bunk bed with her older sister Astrid, or half-sister Astrid. So there we go. There we go. You know, one thing I didn't talk about at all when I was recording the episode is the fact that Flippin' Malik is Lilac's father, and I just completely missed that connection. I have said this several times in the past, but I forget certain family connections the Sims have because they either look different to each other, or I'm only tracing them down one line and I forget they're connected through another. But that is totally something that went over my head, and I am now curious as to what's going on in Lilac's head regarding her father. I mean, granted, the fairies kind of grow up and they're not that close to their fathers unless their parents are married. Which means their fathers are a lord or a prince, and they, are invited to the parties and such. Other than that, they glow up. Well, I mean, yes, they do glow up as they grow up, but they grow up largely disinterested. So there's that. Now, Celine kind of feels, I'm not sure if she's moved on or she's put it to rest or what's going on, but she was having a love affair with Malik. And, she went over to his estate, which is how she discovered that he had died, and so did Lumia. And she brought that news back, and then the affair came out. But I wonder if she's just giving it a wide berth, because, the fairies have something else to focus on right now, and if they bring their attention back to the affair, then people are going to be upset with Celine again. But it's all been kept under wraps, like the public isn't really aware of that affair. So I don't think they want to destroy the reputation of Malik now that he's dead, and they probably don't want to have another fairy in court that's having like a love scandal or anything like that, because Celine is still married to Prince Callum, even if their relationship or their marriage is pretty much non-existent, but there is still that going on. So I don't think they would want to delve into that, but before, Lilac was, a toddler, so obviously she wouldn't have known any better. But now that she's older, because her father was a prince, I wonder if they would talk about that and, how she would feel hearing things about her father, because it wouldn't necessarily be a secret that she is the daughter of Malik. Everyone knows that. Everyone knows that she is the daughter of Lady Celine and Prince Malik, and that's another thing I did not mention at all, and I completely forgot. Her name is literally Lilac Oriton, and I know that she's the hero's child, but for some reason my brain just did not make the connection between the hero and Lady Celine, which is like one person. It's one and the same. But it just went over my head that, yes, Celine is her mother. But there we go. That's what's happening with the youngster. And I think at this point, I decided that it would be a good idea for our sorceress to take her apprentice to the elixir store so that we could begin our education in magical ingredients and resources, where to find them, how to buy them, how much they cost and such, different things you need for different potions and whatnot, availabilities. This is like an excursion. It's a lesson. So that's why Mentor and Apprentice have decided to come over here. It is snowing quite a bit. So Morida's gonna go in. She's gonna start purchasing some of the potions that she finds. And then I think Lila goes in there, she looks around a bit, and then she decides that she wants to do her homework. So she's going to the nectary side so that she can do that. So Morida's just gonna have to flip and tell her this whole process, a follow-up on, what she saw on the way back, and I suppose it's a good way for her to investigate things as well. But I'm just going through a bunch of the ingredients over here and potions. Potent personality adjuster. I think I say that would be interesting for the queen, but no, we're not doing anything of the sort. So normally, whenever we jump into the elixir store, I go into, I buy stuff thrice. Just because when you purchase a bunch of things, the store restocks some items, or it fills up certain slots. So you go back in, for example, some of these ingredients, they only have one of each. But if you purchase and then you come back and buy again, they have another one of each. So you get to restock, and then you've got some different potions. I think there's a potent invigorating elixir there. So I grab that. And then one more time. Come on. Come on. I feel like the fairies have been quite reclusive ever since they found out about Lumia. I don't know. I suppose not really. They did have a party the other day for the princess. But I just feel as though they're a little bit reclusive. Maybe it's because they themselves aren't attending any events, but they rarely do. They prefer to host things at the palace, palace? What am I saying? I'm making words up now. Palace, wherever their seat of power is. That kind of makes sense for them. Oh yeah, that's right. I managed to get a potent jar of friendship. And I remember that Astrid actually had a political quest from Queen Snow to befriend Prince Anakin. So that's something I eventually end up getting done off camera, I'm pretty sure. And then we had the skill booster that I think we already slipped into Princess Avalon's inventory, so that's good. But August Bryant is tending to the nectary right now, the register. He's Princess Avalon's father. See, that I did remember. But whenever we have a prince father or a lord father, I don't know why, it just goes over my head and I completely forget. Probably because they look more like one parent than the other. So it just does not cross my mind. I mean, August Bryant is blue. I mean, who else could you confuse the princess's father to be? Don't have a huge variety of blue-skinned fairies, I think August is the only one. Initially, when you move in, there is a family in Dragon Valley, but I don't think we ended up breeding with them at all. So those genes were lost, but that's fine because August Bryant brought it back in with his own self. Now, I was hoping there was going to be some food here, so our sorceress could grab some dinner, but there wasn't because, it's a nectary. So we ended up getting some cheap wine, and she's just having that. And then the plan is she's going to drunk drive back to the palace with a child in her vehicle, which is not great, but, she's somehow going to make it back home. At least that is the hope. So yeah, she's staving off hunger somehow with wine, which I don't feel like would work that well necessarily. but she's out here on her lonesome, drinking some cheap wine, while Lilac is busy doing her homework upstairs. So, right, I think I'm just going through her inventory at this point. And I can't remember what I was looking for, or why. Oh yeah, that's right. I was trying to see if any of the mushrooms, like ingredients she got, she could eat, but apparently they're not edible. They are not edible. Now, is that true for all of the produce in The Sims 3? Probably not, right? Because I'm fairly sure your Sims can eat apples, because witches keep conjuring apples and keep eating apples, so they never have to cook. I mean, that's one way you can deal with hunger as a witch. So I wonder if that applies to other produce, but, you know, all the seeds we had and all the mushrooms we had just didn't work, and I'm assuming that's because they're for elixirs and potions. That's probably why. But yeah, so at this point, I wanted to send these two back home, and then I was struggling a bit to send them somewhere together. So I think I just assumed that they would go separately, and obviously Lady Morida has the vehicle. So poor little Lilac, I thought, is going to have to bike or hike her way back home in the cold, in the dark, in the snow, in the deep of winter. And so I was entirely prepared to say, well, this is her first lesson. Get set all the way across town, and then there we go. You're loose. Find your way back to the palace. This is the time to be a grown-up, kiddo. This is your first lesson as sorceress. Communicate with all the animals on the way and find your way back home. But thankfully, that was not the case, because is she freaking out? I don't know. Maybe she's complaining. But Morida whipped out her vehicle. Or I should say reversed her vehicle. And the little one, who you can barely see, she's in there, I swear, guys. I swear she's in there. She got in, and then they drove back to the palace. So we didn't have to worry about the little one being left out in the cold. And then we resumed the episode at Verdington Castle. Not palace, but castle. Now, the queen was throwing a pool party with a whole bunch of princes in attendance. And I think just princes, but there may have been some lords as well. Which Morida, as well as Prince Avalon and Lilac, were invited to. But actually, it wasn't just a party. This was a secret meeting in disguise, which the queen arranged because she wanted to talk to Lady Morida about something serious without alerting the rest of Dragon Valley and freaking them out. Now, why are we bouncing around the walls of the castle trying to focus on a cat? Well, let me get around to that. So, this cat's a special cat, and it is now in residence at Castle Verdington. It is chilling with the fairies there. Yep. Chilling with the fairies, thinking about ghosts. Why? What connection does this cat have with ghosts? Well, if you guys think back to the episode where Malik was killed and then was Lumia, you will remember that there was a little creature clinging to the edge of the walls. Or at least that's how I'm picturing it. There was a kitten by the name of Ginger that Malik had adopted before he died because, you know, he lived by himself, so obviously he needed a companion at some stage. So Ginger was there as a kitten, and Ginger witnessed everything as a kitten. But nobody noticed Ginger. So after the death of Malik and, you know, Abraham ran off into the woods, Ginger left the estate because, you know, there is no living beings there anymore. And, you know, probably ran out of food and such, so he was wandering the forests nearby, and he showed up a few days later at Castle Verdington, and nobody knew, where this cat came from or where this kitten came from. They kind of just took it in because it seemed to have an affinity with the sorceress, Lady Morrigan, in residence at the castle. So Ginger, as a kitten, could not communicate or anything like that, but it kept the memories of that night in its mind, and it was drawn to the sorceress because we know that the fairy sorceresses, they have a unique ability to connect and communicate with the creatures. And usually in each generation they specialize with a certain kind of creature, but, that ability could be applied really to any creature. So when Ginger came of age, when it became an adult cat, it was able to start projecting images into the mind of Lady Morrigan, and in passing one day, it started projecting memories of where it came from and the night that Malak and Lumia died. So it essentially communicated everything that happened that night, and now the mystery of Lumia and Malak's death has been solved. So Morrigan, knowing that, invited Morida through, Dowager Queen Ivy to the castle so that she could share this information with her. I mean, it's not something you want to be made public knowledge because people will start freaking out for various reasons. So she spoke with Morida, and she let Morida know what actually happened. And I think Morida, at this point, she is feeling a little bit ashamed that, her daughter got taken over by this kind of magic. Like, she was zombified, something backfired, something went wrong, and that she even dabbled in that in the first place. She didn't follow the rules, or anything like that. But at the same time, I think she feels even more disappointed in herself, because like I said before, she kind of took the fact that Lumia was her daughter and would be around for a long time for granted, and she never gave her proper training one-on-one. She just assumed Lumia would watch and learn as she grew up, and obviously that wasn't good enough, and that eventually led to Lumia dabbling in magics that she wasn't prepared for. So I think Morida is feeling very guilty about that whole thing. And of course, we've got drums somewhere, and you guys know how much instruments in any event irritates me. And who do I find up here playing the drums? Flippin' Princess Avalon, which is ridiculous. So of course I had to do the one thing that anyone must do in such a situation. I went into debug, NRAS, something, and I confiscated it. I'm currently trying to find out how to confiscate it, but I get there eventually, I swear. I took it into the household inventory, aka I confiscated it. Thank you. It had to be done, so I did it. But there we go. That's what's happening with Morida. Now, I don't remember entirely her relationship with her mother growing up, but she and Morrigan aren't really that close. Morida is friends with Dowager Queen Ivy, but she's not close at all with Lady Nuala, and she's not close with her own mother. I feel like they're a bit estranged, and maybe even more so ever since Lumia's died. This whole thing, it matters to Morrigan because Lumia was a granddaughter, and it matters to Morida because Lumia was her daughter. But I think this might have caused even more friction between them. Like, maybe they have differences in opinion about how a sorceress should be raised, and the training a sorceress must go through, and, how hands-on they are as parents. They probably disagree about certain things even more so, now that Lumia has passed on, but since she can't speak to the others, she's probably speaking to Dowager Queen Ivy about the guilt that she's feeling. regarding Lumia's death. And I think also it's the fact that Lumia, got into this in the first place because she was trying to get her mother out of this scandal that she was involved in, which, to be fair, Morida was completely innocent of, but because it involved her, she probably feels even more guilty, and she feels like, she is the reason, for one thing or the other, why Lumia went down a path she shouldn't have, and why she died in doing that. So yeah, discussion over. I think we planned to head back to the palace, but then I decide that maybe it would be a wise idea to just stay the night at the castle. Or at least that is the decision that I shall eventually come to, after Morida speaks a little bit more to everyone about what happened. But along with figuring out finally, how Lumia and Malik died, they now have Abraham. They have a werewolf who killed Lumia, and who thought he got away with it, but really he didn't entirely understand creatures and fairy sorcerer's powers. So he didn't get away with it, so that came around somehow. Now the fairies know about it, and the question remains, how will they deal with him? Now Abraham obviously kept this a secret from the rest of his pack, but I think I was showing here how close Malik's estate was to Verdington Castle, and how the kitten may have wandered around in the woods before it ended up at Castle Verdington. But yeah, I think that's what I was showing over there. With Abraham, obviously he kept the whole thing a secret, like what happened that night. And, no doubt he's totally paranoid about it. But I don't think he would have told the others. Even still, obviously, it's a stupid mistake, like why would you? And then there's also a separate drama going on in his pack. They're, fighting for leadership and stuff, so they have entirely different things to be worried about. But I think at this stage I was also having Morida consult Queen Ivy and the other ladies of the previous generation about what kind of action they can take in the future, because this whole werewolf thing now is a big deal. The werewolf involvement in the death of one of their own, one of the children in court, is a huge deal. Kind of similar to how in the previous generation we had Zorro kill Zorro with the aid of Marjorie. Was that her name? Oh my goodness. I don't remember if that was the name. I think her name is Marjorie. Zorro with the aid of Marjorie killed Raven. So we had that, but Zorro / Zane, jeez, heaven knows, he, was a son, I think he was a lord. He was a son of one of the court ladies who ended up killing another court lady's daughter. It was still within the court, whereas this, and he was still a fairy, so even though he's a villain, that doesn't, it's tragic, but it doesn't feel threatening when another one of your own kind is able to, kill you, I suppose. Whereas these werewolves, they are a completely different supernatural species, and some fairies, I feel like actually a lot of fairies view them as inferior, so it's kind of a scary idea that the werewolves can kill a fairy, and even a fairy that belongs in the court or was born in the court that a werewolf can kill. That would be a bit freaky and not something that the fairy populace would be comfortable with, and I imagine if they find out, they would want the werewolves gone. They would totally want the werewolves outed for that, and who knows if they would ever trust supernaturals in the future after that incident, because they kind of took the Kaufman Pack in as, refugees of sorts. So that's something that they have to think about, and that's why they're wanting to consult the Dowager Queen. That's why Morida is wanting to consult the Dowager Queen and the other ladies before she sends a message to Queen Snow about what she's discovered here. Now, I'm pretty sure at this point I am deciding that the youngsters need to be fed various things and then sent to bed. We have, I think, 2 quarters in Verdington Palace that are empty. We have Nessie's bedroom, and then we have Sparrow's bedroom right at the top across from Nuala. So, we can have the princess sleep in one, we can have Lilac sleep in one, and then we have a fairy house, which pretty much everyone goes into, and it can fit a lot of fairies, so I've got half the mind to just throw Morida in there. So that's probably what I'm going to be doing here in a second. So I don't even know what I'm looking for at this point. Am I looking for anyone in particular? Oh, that's right. I think I was saying at this point that initially when Prince Avalon tagged along, she was actually supposed to do some training while Morida talked to Morrigan about this important matter, while they're having their adult time dealing with serious matters. The princess was supposed to train on one of the practice dummies that we have, or the martial arts dummy that we have outside, but didn't end up doing that. She instead ended up just mingling with her uncles, the other princes, and enjoying herself. So there we go. There was that done. But at least she got to pay respects to her grandmother, Dowager Queen Ivy, because this is the first time, if I'm not mistaken, that she's come to visit Verdington Castle as a young adult. But my goodness, all this talking is making me very sleepy. Seriously, I'm fighting to keep my eyes open. I don't know why I'm so sleepy, but I am really sleepy. But it is sleepy time for them, so I am still gonna have to be awake. Because I must keep talking for a bit longer, but these guys, they are going to bed. And I swear, when you stay at a castle, you get so used to the way it looks, you kind of want to break free and you want, new scenery. But then when you come back, it's just so fresh and nostalgic. When I left this at the beginning of season 2, I was just so excited for Verdington Palace, and I was thinking, oh, this is so fresh, I'm kind of sick of seeing Verdington Castle so much, but now that we're at the palace all the time, we're used to that scenery, and coming back here feels like a, breath of fresh air. It's great. But okay, she's gonna go to bed, and the others are gonna tuck themselves in, which is great. And what am I checking? Am I checking to see if... Oh, that's right, Nuala is a grandmother. See, guys, back to the fact that I keep forgetting how the Sims are related to one another. But Lilac is the granddaughter of Nuala, and I completely forget the fact that Nuala is related to the Oritans, because she doesn't look anything like them. She is gorgeous. Celine, her daughter, ended up looking exactly like her father, before. I think she was the first baby we had, and also the only baby we had before the random genetics mod. So we had that, and then all of Celine's daughters look like her, so I keep thinking that Celine started the line, but no, it was Nuala. That aside, Morida, the next day, comes back to Verdington Palace to share with Queen Snow in person the details of what she learned the day before, and they are now discussing with each other how they are going to deal with Prince Malik. Not Malik, what am I saying? What am I saying? You can tell I'm delirious, right? With Abraham. And the queen at this point, you know, she's mean-spirited, she's unflirty, and you know what, guys? I don't remember which fairy it was in the beginning that backed Malik up when he was trying to get the werewolves a piece of land. Like, do you guys remember? Because I don't. I might have to go back and check my records to see if anyone did. I feel like someone in court kind of helped Malik get an audience. Maybe. I'm not entirely sure. Or did he go directly to the queen? I don't know. I don't remember. Regardless, if it was one of the fairies, the queen would not be happy right now. Totally would not be having it. And because for some reason I was thinking it was Saffron, so the fact that she's unflirty makes me feel as though, like, if it was Saffron, that she wouldn't go easy on Saffron. Like, she's not feeling romantic at all right now. She doesn't care that she's married to Saffron. If Saffron, you know, made that suggestion, then it ended up screwing them up in the end. And she's not going to be happy with that. But also, she's mean-spirited, so she would definitely want to get back at the werewolves. There would be no forgiving in her books right now, I think. But regarding why they need to talk about how they're going to go about punishing the werewolves, because I don't feel as though it would be an entirely wise thing for them to make this public. And oh look, Abraham Kaufman, who we're talking about, is wanting to ask Astrid on a date. What the heck? At first I didn't understand, but then I thought, you know what, ever since Abraham killed Lumia and ran away to his pack house, I feel as though, because he's the only one that knows what happened and his own crime, he is really paranoid. And because he's really paranoid, he's seeing things that others aren't. And they live really close to Beddington Castle, so he would have noticed more than the others going in. And he might have become suspicious, even though everyone knows the Dowager Queen threw a party. But I think in Abraham's mind, he's thinking, wait a second, if the Dowager Queen threw a party, why didn't she invite everyone? She only invited Morida, Lilac, and Avalon. That means it's not the kind of party that everyone thinks it is. Something's going on. He was being suspicious. So there's that happening. And I'm thinking that he wants to call Astrid out to find out if there's been talk in the palace, what's going on. He wants to know if the fairies are getting suspicious of him because, you know, he is paranoid. Anyways, like I was saying, it is a big deal about the whole werewolf involvement, and I don't think they'd want to make it public if they could, because the people of Dragon Valley, one, the fact that, you know, a werewolf killed a fairy is a big deal, since they're seen as a weaker supernatural, but also, I think the fairies are just getting used to the fact in Dragon Valley that, you know, the werewolves are there, and they're starting to see them as, you know, other members, just normal members of their society, and it's going to be a big blow to them to discover that, you know, these werewolves aren't assimilating, they're actually killers on the loose. So that's not going to go over too well, and it is going to reflect badly on the Queen and the court that they allowed these unchecked foreigners into their queendom, and they allowed them to settle and all of that, without, you know, cross-checking their character or anything of the sort. So that's something that I think Snow would want to avoid along with the others. But Astrid, she's you know, been invited, I suppose, to a meeting with Abraham, because we were thinking that Abraham wants to find out what's going on. But just as Astrid starts talking to him, I look up at their relationship you know, panel there, and then I discover that she has a bad impression of Abraham, and I start wondering, why does she have a bad impression? Maybe because everyone in Beddington Palace knows about Abraham's involvement at this point, and what Morrigan told them, and, you know, what happened that night. And Abraham thinks he's getting information on the palace through Astrid, but actually, maybe the court sent Astrid to find out information on Abraham. So that's the end of the episode where we leave off, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.